It's almost time for the 6 Mexico Major. You know what that means. Predictions? Time to make predictions post/video and jinx a whole bunch of teams. Please, Lord Jacob, I have but one request. Predict an NIP victory. Please predict DZ to go 0-6 in groups, I'm begging you. Jacob's desk predictions. Jacob's YouTube predictions. Yes, SSG's comeback to be completed. Ir acampar afuera de su hotel, okay, no, JSG. You knew this was coming. Like, there's no point trying to hide it. You knew this was coming. I try-harded as much as I could for Stage 2 of the NAL and got 75% of my predictions correct. But what I say on broadcast and what I say in YouTube videos mean completely different things. That's it. BDS takes it, obviously. That I can call with 100% accuracy. Rogue wins. But for the purpose of this tournament, I think this is an EG match. I call you crazy and turn you down. The 6 Mexico Major finally kicks off this week from August 16th through the 22nd at an undisclosed location in Mexico City. It's the first international Siege event in the COVID era that is not named the Invitational, featuring 15 of the world's best teams competing for standing points, money, glory, blah, 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 blah. Blah. You know the drill. Let's just get to the good stuff. I want to make this very clear. I do not have a way to back out of anything that I say in this video or on broadcast, because any of the predictions that I list here directly coincide with the power rankings that you're going to see from us when we're on the major desk. There is zero difference between what I say here or there. So if the curse decides to come to play this week, don't say I didn't warn you. Or your favorite teams. You might want to let them know now whether they're gonna... Sorry, I'm really sorry. But just be warned, this video only covers everything happening through the group stage, because the playoffs are determined old style with a random 1 and 2 seeded draw after the group stage is over. So ideally, once the groups are all done, I'd love to get my own video out from Mexico talking about the playoffs, but it'll depend on the setup and the internet and whether they give me a laptop by this point that I can edit on.
I don't even know if it works. I don't even have one.
It's a little bit up in the air about whether or not I will be able to do a playoff prediction video, but for right now, let's talk about what we know for sure. We have 4 groups of 4 teams each, aside from Group B, which only has 3, and it's double round robin, so every team plays every other team in their group twice over 3 days. Top 2 teams from each group qualify. Yes, even Group B, so the one team that goes home from that group is going to be really embarrassed. Let's go over each group, who I think is going to qualify, who I don't think is going to qualify, and my reasons for it, which, again, I remind you, I have actual stakes involved, and I can't back out of anything, so everything I say is completely legit. Unless I'm trolling the whole thing. Group A is BDS Esports, Cyclops Athlete Gaming, Team 1, and the Susquehanna Sonics. Now, until Friday night, everyone was probably looking to Group D as the group of death, but Merc isn't playing at this major anymore, and I'll explain more once we actually get to that group's explanation. But now I would argue that Group A is single-handedly the most unpredictable group to call. Not for BDS, like they should qualify no problem. Am I going to regret that statement later? But it's that second spot that's a little bit harder to figure out. We've got the Sonics, who played really well through the first 2 stages of the NAL on a LAN environment, so they should be used to this and might even be upset potentials. But everyone on this team is brand new to majors with the exception of Super, and I do think on some level that will play a factor in their success or their failure. Cyclops, I think, has the best chance of any APAC team to get from groups into playoffs. I touch on it more in this video up here, by the way. Go watch it. But they have a style of repeated aggression that might not see a lot of success against other teams in this group who are simply way better at counter-stratting against that exact kind of thing. So in my head, Team 1 gets this second spot. They're technically in this major as the second seed from Latin America, and Brazil as a whole is just undoubtedly the single most competitive country that Siege has at the minute. For Team 1, their adaptability is off the charts, and they're managing to gel together fantastically for a team that's only been together for about 5 months. There's been a big uptick in the quality of their play from stages 1 to 2, so I do think they get that second spot in Group A. And BDS get the first spot because they just take... Group B is Space Station Gaming, Nodus Vincer, and Furia. Knights would be joining them here if it wasn't for Australia controlling their borders right now with a white-knuckle death grip, but it means all 3 teams here technically have a little bit less to worry about. It's 1 less team to prep for, and more time that you can focus on the opponents that are actually here. And for me, it's pretty straightforward. SSG and Na'Vi both make it through. Space Station's complete, like, metamorphosis into this total monster that they were for Stage 2 is not something that's going to slow down in groups, as far as I'm concerned. And now they can strat heavier against both their opponents with Knights out of the picture. Like, you know Lycan's got more time to cook some stuff up because they have one less opponent in their group. And Na'Vi could be some serious top contenders for Mexico if they didn't rely so much on Dowie getting his frags all the time. When he's on fire, then seemingly the rest of the team always does well. So if he's able to do his job, then they should be fine getting out of Group B. Furia, to me, is really the weakest Latin American team here. They placed 6th overall in Stage 2 with more losses than they had wins, and based on the play that SSG and Na'Vi both have displayed in Stage 2, it's hard to give them much confidence to make it out of the group. Even though, yes, teams in Brazil are the ones that you are supposed to underestimate the least, to me, this looks like the easiest group to predict. Sorry, boys. Maybe next major. Group C is one that I actually really like. It's G2 Esports, Ninjas in Pajamas, Dark Zero Esports, and Damwon Kia. We've been instructed to call them by their full Damwon Kia name for the majors, so it's in all caps too, so I can't not say it like that. This one to me is also a pretty easy group to predict. The world champions were first last stage and at Copa Elite, so we might as well bet heavy on the favorite here. And G2, for making one of the biggest European roster moves this year, arguably has seen the best turnaround. They only lost 2 games last stage, but have very clear, precise direction that can only come from Shas and Kayak putting their brains together so close they're essentially kissing. And Hungry can play everything. I'm very quickly actually growing attached to this team, probably because Pengu isn't here and I don't like talking about trash.
B window. In. Dead.
Dark Zero was pretty darn good in clutch moments last stage. Like, you can tell that just from their 6 overtime wins alone, but I think that's more of a problem than it is a good thing, because it means you can really only perform when the pressure is high or when you have to push round after round after round just to force OT. Some games they just couldn't close it out even when they had a lead and just let them slip away from them. I don't think that that kind of record in Stage 2 is sustainable for a major like this. Like, you still have a brand new player who's never played at an international LAN before, and I don't really know how BC is going to fit in with this team long term, so it seems like for Dark Zero, there's just too many kinks to iron out for this major. For them, just getting to Mexico is a really good thing. Same thing for Damwon Kia, but it's also different because I think I'm going to be rooting against my prediction on this one. I love their explosive style, like even if they can't compete with the likes of G2 and NIP in their group, but it's the org that won Worlds last year, coming in, getting a Siege team. I love an underdog story because it's a Korean team that's never been to LAN before. APAC teams are always underdogs, and I just really want to see them succeed if possible. If they make it out of groups somehow, I'd honestly be really happy. And finally, we get to what used to be the group of death. Group D for Death, or Dan, or Data, or dicking Merc out of his chance to compete internationally. It's TSM, Team Empire, Team Liquid, and Invictus Gaming, and just to be clear, Merc tested positive for COVID-19 and isn't able to travel and play at the major. Pojoman will be stepping back from a coach into a player role just like he did in Stage 2 to replace Merc for the major, but according to data on Twitter, they've only had a few days to practice. Even if the strategy for TSM may seem obvious to some, like putting Chala on Ashe and having Pojoman play support while moving Geo back to a flex position, I don't think that's going to fly against both Team Empire and Team Liquid when you haven't had a lot of time to figure out what this roster move means for your team. It just doesn't seem like a case where you're going to find that much short-term success. I hate to say it, but that kind of change for TSM alone, just the one guy being out of place, is enough for me to push them out of my top 2 in Group D. When things are this tight in this group and almost anybody could make it out, it's just not feasible to me. And sadly, it's also not very feasible for Invictus. I'm honestly really happy to see that these boys get to make another big LAN, but the problem at these kinds of events is that they really never seem to show up. They were the APAC team that got eliminated in their group back at the Six Invitational a couple of months ago, then went back into APAC South and just barely managed to squeak into top 4. Like, for that region, because of how close everything was, it was almost like a surprise that they managed to even break into that threshold. They had a spark during the APAC playoffs though, which is how they managed to qualify. But is it enough to knock off Empire or Liquid? Not to me. Team Empire have somehow managed to become one with the ping problems that they had in EUL rather than try to like work around all of those connection issues. And Liquid are still Liquid, even if Stage 2 definitely showcased more of their inconsistencies. For me, because of that TSM problem, Empire and Liquid absolutely should be making it out of this one. So, for me, these are the 8 teams I think are making it from groups into playoffs. It's going to be a random number 1 seed against a random number 2 seed, so anyone from here could be facing anyone from here, and it's all single elimination from there once everyone gets sorted. Of these 8, I'm probably going to say 5. I think I got 5 of these right. I'll do my best to get something up for predictions for playoffs once we know who makes it through, but no promises. For right now, I hope you can find it within yourself to enjoy the major with my dumb tennis ball ass plastered all over the front of the screen. I'm really nervous, dude. But who do you think is gonna, I hate this part, who do you think is gonna get to the playoffs from the major? Like, am I crazy for picking who I picked, or do you totally agree with everything that I just said? But who do you think is gonna make, I hate this part. Let me know who you think is gonna make it from the groups into playoffs. Am I crazy with what I said, or do you agree with everything I listed? Let us know in the comments, and also be sure to let us know how the major itself goes. For Jesse, for Monty, and myself, if you like the desk, if you hate the desk, whatever it might be, please tell us. We would love your feedback. And be sure to follow my Twitter and my Instagram, by the way, for all of the stuff that you need in terms of BTS content for the Rainbow Six Mexico Major. Love y'all, and I will see you this week. Peace out.